been playing around? Yes. So how do I click that? I need to go back there and click it, right? Okay. Okay, guys, so this is my very first time coming back to the campus, but it's really amazing, this room. Let me show you, let us show everyone who are in the Zoom how the layout look like. You can see it all. Tapi cuma segitu ya, kelihatannya. Kayaknya we have to move around the. Okay, there. Okay, I'm showing you the brand new room. Okay. Can we zoom here?
Yes, absolutely, we could, bro.
Where do we zoom it from?
We have the loop.
Oh,
We have the loop sign, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Okay. Okay. So we have 4 students with us here today. And we have, how many students we have?
There are 31 participants.
Oh, there it is, 31. So 31 minus us, 5. How much 31 minus 5? Come on, quick math.
26.
26 minus Sam and minus Michael, yeah. Good morning, Pak Michael.
Good morning, Burin.
Okay, so are we all in the house, or how many students are there all together? Okay, so we have with us, okay, so this is Justin, right? This is Justin Timberlake, who you're looking at. He's a very popular singer. And then we have there Gerald. Where are you, Gerald? What? Oh, itu ke sana. Okay. Kenapa Justin yang duluan? What happened with?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, that's Gerald. And then that's Gerald. That's Justin. That's me. Okay, anyways lah, udahlah ya. Okay, anyways, kita ada 4 orang di sini. Okay, can you introduce yourself, guys? Just using your own screen.
What?
Just open mic.
Oh wait, I need to join it again. Already.
You're not joined? Okay, you're not joined? I see, okay. And then I forgot your name. Oh yeah, Rian. Rian or Ryan? Rian, ya? Rian. Okay, we have Rian. Okay, so quick playing around, and then now we're just going to start. And then we have, so thank you very much, everyone, for today's class. We will be mostly talking about, you can see your screen kan ya, on the, because I cannot see, I cannot see the, ini Pak, I can see it only in the front here, but somehow the monitor on the sideways is yeah, it's a bit glitchy. So, okay. So guys, welcome to introduction of UX or user experience design, okay? So when you hear the words user experience design or even user experience, what are you expecting? What comes to your mind? Anyone else on the Zoom, please feel free to just unmute yourself.
Design for user use, like for their satisfaction.
Satisfaction, right? Anything else?
For the user experience, like how easy the app is used to use and how good looking the app is looking.
Right, so good looking, so easy to use, so appearance, right?
Accessibility.
A what?
Accessibility.
Accessibility, right? Okay, so those are the right keywords. Anyone else in the Zoom? Template, yes, can. That's how you go there, right? Okay, anyone else in the Zoom perhaps would like to add?
Practicality.
Again, please. Practicality.
Practicality.
Right, okay. Anyone else? So usually, if in a normal Zoom class, I would say type it on the chat box, but my computer is way back there, cannot access my chat box. So just feel free to unmute yourself and then say what comes into your mind, yeah? All right.
Design,
Yes?
design, miss.
Design. Yes, exactly. Anyone else?
The interior of a website.
Interior. Again, please.
The interior of a website.
The interior of the website. Okay. All right. Yeah. So basically, it's the design. So everything what you said, right? The practicality, the usability, the appearance. So something that can please your eyes and also gives you satisfaction in actually using it, right? So like you can see here, I mean, there are different types of chairs. The idea is actually for you to sit. So why do they create like different types? So it's basically, it can satisfy your appearance, satisfy how you can use that chair, right? The sofa. So it has different types because it fulfills the different needs of each user. So it's not the one size fits all, but it's kind of like, so it's not, later on we will discuss about it more. It's not something that is objective, but it is more subjective because it depends on who we are creating it for. Okay, this way. So, moving back. I think I need to click it back again. I did.
Currently, this is the full number.
Okay, so as you can see here, right, there's this side, and there's also the wooden side. So basically, this is what Donald Norman said. If I do it now, okay. So good design is also an act of communication between the designer and the user. Okay. So the good design is also an act of communication between designer and the user, except that all communication has to come about the appearance of the work, okay, of the device itself. So the device must explain itself. This is what Donald Norman said. It should also focus on the user-centered design. So before we go all through what the user experience design is about, let's bring your attention first to the idea of what is a user-centered design. As it's called, basically the center will be designed specifically for the user. So it's a process that brings the user needs into consideration from the beginning of the project. So whatever the project is being made, it should always focus to the user. It takes consideration of the defined business objectives and technical requirements. So these are things that you need to be putting into consideration when you are creating something that is user design. It should follow, sometimes you can't just follow the user needs because if it's designed for a specific project, then I'm still playing around with this, so, okay. So if it's, you're designing for a project, it should also have a business objective, right? Because you're not just making an application or a website only for the user without any objective for the specific business or specific project that the design is being made for. And it should also follow the right requirement using the right technical requirements. Okay, so let's go to the user experience. So user experience, as you see, it's your experience, the user experience. So we have this famous user experience honeycomb. This is created by Peter Morville. There are, you can see there. So as you said, as all of you mentioned when I asked, user experience is about how a person feels about a system or design. So it is not specifically only talking about the design, but it is talking about who it is designed for, right? So it's not objective because it's really paying attention to who it is being made for. So it's subjective, depending on the subject of what that system or what that website is being made. Okay. And then it is not procedural. It is rather philosophical because there's sometimes a background or a story behind why that system is being made. And of course, it's not static, it is dynamic. So it needs to fulfill all this. You can see here the useful, desirable, accessible, credible, findable, valuable, usable, and then of course it should be valuable. So these are the main factors that you need to really pay attention when you are creating something, when you're creating any type of website or application, and you have the user experience design when you're thinking through or when you're actually making the application. So let's go one by one. So useful, of course, useful should be something that is useful. So if you're creating a system or an app that is not useful, at the end it will go just to waste because it's not being used by anyone. It should be desirable, as you said, right? How you would want the apps or the system to be used because it attracts you. You have the itch to want to try it, so it should be desirable. Accessible at the end. If you cannot access the system, even how modern it is, people will just put it aside because it's so hard to even access it. Credible, so you can actually rely on it. You can find everything really smoothly, really easily, what's all the features and all the buttons that are created within the system. It's easy to find. And then usable, yeah, and then valuable, of course. Okay, so these are the 6 cores of user experience discipline. The user research first, content strategy, information architecture, interaction design, visual design, usability, evaluation. Because at the end, when you're creating a design, a user experience design, you will need to combine all this other multidisciplinary to at the end complements each other, right? So it's not only a standalone subject. You can, when you take into consideration the user design discipline, then you can actually apply it for other disciplines as well. Okay, so we've talked about the user experience. Now let's talk about the user experience design itself. So of course, it is how user feels when using a product, whether they like it or they dislike it. If they dislike it, it doesn't mean you just stop. It means that you need to do something better about it, right? So that's like giving feedback to the developer to actually make something better. And it determines whether the user actually wants to use it again. So you want the audience or whoever that you're building this apps or website to be able to enjoy themselves, use it, navigate it, complete the task, and at the end, return back and use it again. So of course, it's the quality of experience when a person is interacting with a specific design. It can be any type of things actually when you're making a user experience design. So and then you have to improve the usability, accessibility, and then pleasure provided, the interaction between the use of the product itself and how the product is actually being made. So the aim is, it doesn't matter if you use a device hundreds of times, you will remember the unsuccessful attempt. So as I said, even though the system failed, but so that's the part when you actually can, work on it again and then make it at the end works so that your user will actually want to come back and then use it again. Okay, so so not only making it a successful product, but also using it satisfaction, having satisfaction with pleasure, and then designing a product that user wants to use again. It is related to graphic design because graphic design is an integral part of the concept of the product. As I said, Ben Schneiderman, he is one of the famous human-computer interaction. He has this really thick book, which I used back then during my bachelor. He said that a picture is worth 1,000 words, but an interface is worth 1,000 of pictures. So it completes the picture and it also completes the word. So that's why you want to have a picture, or sometimes it's even easier when you look at a visual rather than you read long text, right? Okay. Any questions so far? So I can catch my breath using this double mask. No question, guys? Okay, so the user interface is actually meeting what the user needs and what the product features. It's trying to imagine how the product works and what you need to do as a design action, like playing a game on a mobile phone. As a designer, which all of you will become one day, perhaps, you know the product works and how to investigate the user needs and apply these findings. And as a designer, you're responsible not only for how the product works, but how user will interact with it. Because how good the product that you create, if at the end no one is using it, then it will be not useful at the end. But even a simple product is, if it's useful, then user will come back and then look for it again. So what makes a design successful? So it is successful when it works, of course. So people think of this veneer, let's say, that the designer handed this box and told, make it look good, but that's not what we think design is. It is not just what it looks and feels, but design is actually how it works. So if you're just, giving just an application and it doesn't have all these features that actually try to, so it needs to have a problem that can actually, the system can actually try to work with it. So it has to be useful at the end. And it needs to have a good appearance because that deals with the functionality. I think he's entering our class. Hello. Hi. No, it's okay. Just you can sit anywhere. And I think you need to go someplace in another island. Yeah, we need to be widely spread. Yes, you can go there. Let me see if I can put the camera on you so you can say hi.
Hello.
Hello.
I ended up lost in the JWC campus.
Oh, so you went to, okay. And then they told you to come here?
Yeah.
And then you had to go with the Peduli Lindungi apps first?
Yeah, but I had my Zoom on the whole time.
Okay, great. So what's your name?
My name is Arshan.
Arshad?
Yeah.
Okay, welcome Arshad. Say hi to everyone on Zoom.
Where's the camera?
That's the camera. Here, right here. Okay.
Good morning.
There's Mr. Sam is there. Michael is also there. And we have all the other colleagues there. Okay, thank you. So we continue again. Hold on, you guys. Bear with me, guys. It looks like I have a new toy, like a kid having a new toy. Okay. All right. So, anyways, so Arshad.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just continue. Anyway, so it's very important to do the research first before you actually want to build something. To make an application or an app or a system useful, you have to do your homework. You have to do your research, right? Otherwise, then it will just go to waste because nobody is actually using it. So please do your research, why you're doing it, why this app is important for you to make, things like that. Even a very simple app, if it helps someone, it's useful. if it's a complicated app, but if at the end it's still complicated, people are just, they have their own problem in life. So please do not complicate them, okay? So is it just about the users? So it's not only, of course, satisfying the user needs is very important, but you have to meet the needs and the goal of the manufacturer as well. Until what time do we have? 10:40, right? Okay. So what is UX design about after all? It's not just about aesthetic, but of course it's about aesthetic as well. But it's also about understanding users' behavior and need. It's not just about user interface design, but designing the user interface is a part of the integral part of the UX design process. It's a design discipline concentrating on finding a solution that make a product which people will enjoy again, won't struggle, and will want to use again. So anybody can tell me the difference between a user interface and user experience? Yes, go ahead, Gerald.
That's right. User interface is regarding the design itself of the application, for example, and user experience is where the experience by the user that we provided for the users to use.
Exactly, exactly. So user interface is the layout, something that you use. User experience is when the user is really experiencing using it, right? So
Let me ask this.
Yes.
Regarding as we see in the earlier slides, whereas you mentioned that an application with design needs to meet like company objectives and users. What if the design itself is some kind of flawed, but it achieved the company objectives, but not the user experience for satisfaction? Like for example, like the ads that might be cover some content inside the website itself. It sometimes distract the user experience, right? So what about it? Like, shall we just go ahead with it since it achieved the company objective, or we need to prioritize user experience?
okay, right. Nice question. So if it meets the company objective, so at least it meets one objective is meet, but it doesn't meet the user experience, as you said, right? But the company objective is being, it's meet, but the user experience is not meet. At the end, who is this company building that app for? If it's building for a targeted user to use and they're not experiencing it, they are not satisfied using it, at the end, then there will become problems because they will no longer perhaps return back to the app, even though it fulfills the company's need. That's from one side. But if you also see it from the other side, even though users don't like to use it, but they need to use it anyways because they are, it needs to be, let's say, they need to use this for their work or something like that. So at the end, it doesn't provide any loss for the company. It gives the company the profit, the objective as what the company wants. Then most likely they will just leave it that way. But at the end, of course, there will always be this monitoring evaluation, right? They evaluate whether it's, and somehow when profit are being met, they will need to set a new target, a new profit. And then if it's not being met after that, then new things needs to be achieved, which then this can be some of the improvement that they can do by improving the user experience design of the system or the application that they make in the beginning. So at the end, it depends on who it's being made for, because we talked about the user-centered design. So at the end, that's what, even though the user don't like it, but at the end they're still using it, and it is company profit. And if that's what the company said, it's okay, then most likely they won't do anything. Okay. All right. Okay. So there are sometimes several misconceptions about user experience designing. Let's look at what's the correct and incorrect, so we know whether we are really making a good user experience design at the end. So user experience design is not simply just a user interface design. So it's not a layer or component of a product or service. It's really about the design of the whole system and their interconnection. So that relates to your question. So it connects throughout the whole system. It's not only at the end whether it meets the company's objective, but it should also consider other factors as well. So these are actually the layers, right? So what are the user needs? How it's actually being, what are the functional or the specification or the requirements that you need to do in order to build it? And then you also have to think about the interaction design or the information architecture. And then you have to also think about the information design. And then you also have to think about the visual design. How at the end is the appearance of it, whether it is attracting its user or not. You'll get to learn this more throughout the 4 years of your life here in BINUS. It is not only a step in the process. So it's not only just a simple checkbox where you can just tick, 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 tick. You do it and then you move on. So it needs to be integrated into everything that you do because it connects. At the end, it's really a holistic approach where you have to see whether it's really designed appropriately and that it meets the initial objective, it solves the problem. That's why you need to do your research first before you actually try to build something. So this is what it looks like. How from the abstract, the way you think about it, and then at the end, how it's being a concrete solution. So strategy, this is where it begins. What we need to get out of this site. What do your user want? So you need to have a strategy by doing your research first. So you look at the problem. What is the problem at the moment? Why you need to build this specific app or the specific website. And then you have to limit it. Otherwise it gets too big, too wide. So you need to have a scope. So scope transform the strategy into the requirement. You'll know what are the things that you need to build it. That's why you have to have a scope, right? What are the features that the site needs to include? From there, then you can become more systematically structured the way you think of it. So the structure gives shapes to the scope, how the pieces of the site will fit together. And then the skeleton makes the structure complete, what components will enable people using the site. And then at the end, the service will actually bring everything together. It will show you what the finished product looks like. So this is just the way how you should be thinking, how your mind should be thinking when you're building a website or building an app. So first of all, you have to think about your strategy. Okay, I want to build, let's say, like Tanya have, right? They have their strategy because they want to take away the middleman. They have this, so their background was that they, during that year, I forgot what year it was, there was an overload of tomatoes from the farmers, and nobody can do anything about it because it's just not accessible for people. So it doesn't reach the market. So the middlemen had to buy it first. And then when they actually sell it to the actual user, they had to triple or more than that the price. So taking off the middle part. That's why that's the idea. So that's the strategy. But then you need to, what they did was their scope was only around agricultural products, right? So that's the scope that you're thinking. How are you going to limit your product? So that would also be you can see it when you're designing your website or your apps. Okay. Wrong. So it's not just about technology. So the user experience design is not limited to confines of, do I need to admit that? Hold on a second, guys. Okay. User experience is not limited to confines of the computer. It doesn't even need a screen. It can be interaction with any product, any artifact, or any system. And it's not just about usability. Of course, usability is important. It focuses on the efficiency and the effectiveness But sometimes it blurs the other important factors of the user experience. So you also have to think about how user responds to the product or the services that you're providing. Okay, so back again to here, to this honeycomb cube, how you want your audience to enjoy themselves, enjoy this product, the website or the app that you're producing or you're developing, having the ability to use it, to navigate it, to complete their task, and then to return back using that. Okay, so these are the building blocks of experience. This is how a great customer experience can be considered. So as the foundation, you have the brand, the business, and the users, right? So in order for you to make a great customer experience, of course, it needs to be useful, usable, desirable, sustainable, and social. Right? These are just several questions that can guide you to build it or to go there. It's user-centered design, but it's not just about the user, because we can't always do what is best for the user. There are, back again to Gerald's question, we can't always do what is best for the user. There are also a set of business objectives that are needing to be met, and we're designing to that as well, right? So it's exactly how you pointed it out. It doesn't only focus on what the user needs, but there are also the reason why it's being built. But of course, again, to this three-circle, it has to have how user is being centered in this design. It needs to have the right content and the right context. It's not necessarily has to be expensive, and it's not necessarily has to be easy. There's sometimes a difficult path in making it. And it's not only one person's responsibility. It's when a company is building it, it's basically the whole, because everyone is working on a common goal. So at the end, everyone will take part in building it. And it's not a single discipline. You need to have a common awareness, and you can also combine other multidisciplinary disciplines when you're designing a user experience, right? So it has all this. So when you are learning human-computer interaction, human factors engineering, usability, interaction design, information architecture, and design itself, it all centers into the user interface design. And it is not a choice, because at the end, sometimes when you need to survive, you have to do something, right? So you need to know what, sometimes the company thinks that, okay, that's the right investment, but to survive, they need to take other actions as well. Because experience happen whether or not you plan them, like this pandemic, right? It happens, you're not planning it, but it happens, so you need to move on with your life. When it's not intentionally designed, there's a much higher likelihood of the experience being poor. So it needs to be flexible, it needs to be agile. So this is the conclusion. So user experience design is not only a user interface design, it is the system. It is not a step in the process, but it's the whole process. It is not just about technology, it's also about behavior. It is not just about usability, but it's about the value. It's not just about the user, but it's about the context, so everything that involves around it. It can be expensive, it can be unexpected. Is that a word? Unexpensive? Inexpensive. Or it can be cheap, but of course it's flexible. It's easy. It is a balancing net. The role of one person or department, it is a culture, it's a single discipline, it is a collaboration, it's a choice, meaning that it's a mean of survival. So it's not a choice because that's like now, pandemic. You need to, at the beginning, we're okay, let's just not do anything, but you can't just freeze yourself. You actually have to move on, right? That's life. C'est la vie. Okay, so user experience is how a person feels when interfacing with a system or product. This includes, but not limited to, only website, apps, of software. it is a digital product design. Okay. All right. So any question, guys? I want to see the people in our Zoom. So I'm right here, guys. Looking at there. I can see you on the screen. So it's like all the way far away from where I sat before. If I need to move around and see.
Hello, Miss.
Okay, let's greet everyone here. We have Jeffrey, Jonathan, Vic. Vic, where are you, Vic? Ah, there you are.
Hello, Miss.
Hello.
I want to ask something.
Yes, please, Jeffrey.
How do we deal with people that dislike our design? Because even though we have made what the user want, I think there will always people, like 1 or 2 people will don't like it.
So how do you deal with that? Yeah,
Yeah.
so yes, of course, we cannot please everyone, right? But at the end, in the beginning, that's why you have to have your strategy, you have to have your scope, you have to have your objectives. So does it meet the objective of why that system is being built first? If it doesn't, then it fails, but if it meets, then there's a good possibility that the system is being done correct. But of course, it needs to be customized to the user needs, right? So you as a designer, you have to follow what they need. If they think it should be ways of you to improvise the system. So if it's still possible for you to make that improvement, change it. That's why it needs to be flexible. So at the end, you need to follow what the user wants, because sometimes you have your different opinion and then the user has their own opinion. It doesn't always go in the right direction. But yes, of course, you cannot please everyone, but if it's close enough, then it should be good enough.
Okay, thank you, Miss.
Thank you. So let's meet
Oh, may I also ask a question if it's all right?
Pian. Do I call you Pian or is it Pian?
Yes, it's Vian. Thank you so much for entertaining my question in advance. I just wanted to ask, within the user experience and within the design or whatever, what do you think is the value of empathy in this case, or in this field, or yeah, in this sort of lesson?
Okay, thank you so much, Pian. Wow, that's a very, you really have to think deep in order to answer your question. So the value is empathy is right in the core of the design itself, because it needs to, as it's called user experience, and having user-centered design in the middle of it. So it needs to really follow how the user wants it. So it needs to think about other factors as well. So that means, of course, taking empathy into consideration when you're designing it. So that would be like the part within the middle of when you're designing the system, because it needs to think about not only, of course, user is the main reason why you're building it, the user-centered design, but it also has to follow the surrounding, because you're not building only like a standalone system, it's like a holistic system, and then how it's actually being experienced by the user who's using it. So it takes a great, it needs to be deeply considered when you build it. That's it. Thank you, Maya.
Vian, ma'am. Yeah, but thank you so much. In extension to that, I just wanted to ask, as designers, or when you're making a user interface or a user design and user experience, do we always need to have the obligation to create other accessibility design, accessible designs for the disabled? For example, what if this person is colorblind? What if this person is autistic? What if this person is blind? Shall we obligate the design to cater to them as well, in order to normalize accessibility, and basically having them as a part of our system. Knowing how empathy is very much important in our design.
Right, yes, I agree with you. So ideally, we should always take into consideration, so it will be used for everyone to use. So not only for specific audience, specific target. So we are leaving out, you know how the SDG goal is now, leaving no one behind. So we should always take that into consideration. Now, not many companies already include this, but now I think the government is also moving forward into having disability inclusion for companies that needs to obey. So when you are actually building a system or a design, if it's a large company, if it wants to go to the whole target population, that it needs to include user access, which also include the disabled. So disability inclusion should also need to be considered when you're building the design, we're building the system. But sometimes this costs. Sometimes company also think about the cost and the benefit, and that whether it's because usually that doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're actually building it, there will be extra costs added into it when you are designing something that can satisfy the whole entire user target areas. But of course, ideally, we should also think and put that at least into consideration so that it's not exclusive, but it's inclusive, so everyone can actually use it, use the design, use your app. So that's a great one. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else? If they're here, join the Zoom.
Yes, Bu. Loud and clear, Bu.
If the student is here in the classroom, do they need to join the Zoom as well, no, right?
They could, but however, be very careful because feedback from two microphones of Zooms could be unpleasant experience because sometimes we would need to choose which microphone. Camera, we don't have problem, but microphone is a big problem because it will create feedbacks. But feel free, Burain, to experience this, and then the student as well to test our systems whether the feedback is really strong, because our current microphone, the Logitech microphone, is very, very strong. It could reach until the corners of our lab, so feedbacks could be experienced in that situations. But have a feel free to try that, of course. Thank you.
Okay. I mean, you can join Zoom, but I think what I'm trying to say that if you want to say something, you don't have to unmute yourself because it's going to be feedback.
It's not recommended.
I mean, but anyways, your attendance is going to be done in BINUS mobile, right?
Yeah, we're still having problem with that.
Okay, I will need to do the attendance, but later on we will do some grouping. Okay, any more questions? Here? Anyone here? Rian, you have any questions? No? Okay, good.
We already kind of do this.
Yeah, the total one.
Yeah, the top, yeah.
Okay, all right. I still need to do your attendance anyways later on. Okay, guys, no more questions? So let's go back. All right, so why don't we have on the screen Shana, Michelin, Nicholas, are you guys here? Evelyn, Maria, Victoria. Are you guys here? Hello.
Yes, miss.
Yes, miss.
I'm just doing a random check. Who else? Hello, Victoria.
Hi, miss.
How are you?
Fine.
Okay, so we have 40 minutes left, and what we need to do is we are going to you try doing your own design, doing your app design. I'm going to show you several free samples of software that you can use, right? But you guys probably have tried other things, or you can also try other different things. Yeah, so you don't have to use this. But I think on the math matrix it says that it needs to be a group of 3, so I'm going to also berarti kita kerjanya, I think it needs to be also in a breakout room, right? You can work out here. Okay, let's think about that in 5 more minutes. Let's just continue this. Nih, harus ke sana lagi ya. Hold on. Oh, it's there. Okay, so user experience as a digital product design. So this is what a simple outline when you're designing an app, right? So at the end, you will be asked to make a simple app, a prototype, yeah, or a website or an app or anything, just a prototype. This is just a simple outline. You start idea for a product. You think about the problem, why you're trying to solve it, why are you even making this app? So you think about the problem, you think about who you're trying to solve it for, right? Who is the user? Write a user story showing how you solve the problem, design a wireframe, create a prototype, test a prototype, and then go back to step 5 and repeat if you want your app to work. This is just a simple app, a city mapper. Let's say I'm just too lazy to look at the way where I'm going. I'm driving, I don't know how I get from BINUS home, so I'm using this. So it's simply like a Google map, right? So the idea is to get me home. What are you trying to solve? Getting home when my ass is sleeping. Who are you trying to solve it? For me and for other users. And then the user story is like a storyboard. You need to push one button or other button or what other button to use. And then you have to design a route to go home, and then you make an app, and then at the end, voila, you're home, right? So basically that's just an app on the way of when you're thinking about designing a simple app. So you use a process, decide the process, you use your process and your thinking on when you're trying to make an app. There are 5 steps, of course. We've talked about this, the research, wireframing, prototyping, and user testing. These are just the user experience design process in 5 steps. What you need, not what you need to do now, but these are just the idea. When you're doing the research, of course, again, think about who the users that you're building this app for, why you want to build this app for, what is the purpose, what is the goal, is there other system that has already been available. So do your homework first. And when you're doing your research, of course, you need to gather the data. When you do this, you need to, ask around, like user interview, review the data. And then when you try to define the data, then you can just make your own sketch, your data can then become a personalized like this. So you sketch the name, the behavior information. This is an easy step. What are the needs? What are the potential solutions? Or if you're doing a music app, you make your comparison between the iTunes, YouTube, Music Beta, Spotify, radio, things like that. So these are the ways on how you do your research. Let me get my camera back to me again. Okay. Information architecture. This is one sample. Having a journey mapping. So you map what are the points that are necessary, what are the points that are unnecessary, what needs to be done, like making some kind of a flow chart at the end, like making a journey mapping, wireframing, or this is just a diagram to establish the layout. It's basically a functional drawing. There's no one correct style. I mean, it's basically acceptable depending on how you want to draft it yourself. It usually starts very rough, just using pencil sketches, and then you refine it through. So this is a sample of a wire framing. You can do it on paper, or you can do it on tablets nowadays. You just sketch down what needs to be done. Perhaps like up here would be the logo of your company, and then what the other things that you want to put inside your apps or your website. Or then you move it to the actual app. And then prototyping is the one step after the wireframe. Then you can just make it's like a mock-up. Before you actually you build the actual apps, you build a prototype so you know whether it's working or not. Otherwise, if you already, you will lose a lot of money when you try to design something without testing it first. So you build your own prototype. And then you do a testing. You actually test it to your actual user and to get their reaction. Of course, one size doesn't fit all. So the process varies from team to team, varies from user to user. And then you need to learn and customize it or tailor the process depending on the problem that you're trying to solve. So these are several recommended sites and recommended tools that you can use for wireframing. You can use SketchUp. Prototyping, you can use Marvel, and then we can also use Proto.io, and also you can use Figma. And then for doing your research, gathering your data, you can use different types of survey. SurveyMonkey is one of the survey tools that you can use. Okay, so this is actually a YouTube. Let me see if it works. So let's check out. I have 3 samples: Proto.io, Figma, and Marvel. So you can then choose which one you want to use and then play along with it.
Just watch how I do it. How I do it. Just watch how I do it. How I do it. Just watch how I do it. Just watch how I do it.
All right, so that's one sample. You can use the Proto.io. And then there's also another software that you can use. Oh, why I don't need to go back here. What do I go next? Okay, so that was the Proto.io, and this is a sample of Marvel. So this is now trying to do prototyping in Marvel. You hear it?
Websites, TVs, iPhones, iPads, Android, so
There you go. This is where you can hotspot links between screens and text and transitions to prototype. So let's click and drag to the hotspot, which is an interactive area. Okay, so let's get back to the prototype. You select an image and how it's added image. As you can see, there's a little red slide up to animate the screen. Also add an action. The action is the ability to define the program. Users can use a gesture to move to the next screen or a click or a tap. In this particular case, I'd like to click or a tap. Great thing about first possible. So test this out by clicking play. See that the hotspot now right here. The screen slides up. Now we can move on to the next one. First, it's exactly the same. Drop hotspot over the area. Screen. Right and left arrows to move to the screen. Now we're going through the rest of the prototype. Adding hotspots. Screen. Now we finish our final screen. We're ready to add a prototype. Close the end up. So, this is what you get to extract your prototype. Make sure everything works before sharing the products. That's as you want the price to do. So if you're on the price, you'll see the prototype screen. Put the browser, you'll get the mobile device as the frame around you. So I'm going to share the prototype. So let's share on the project. Right, so this is what you use to if you want to send your prototypes. You have additional options which you like to send by SMS. Embed it into a web page. That's like this way you can apply workspace, join the project and work with them.
You can work this with your team as well. You don't have to, wait until you're finished. You can directly add people to do it together. All right, so that's Marble, and then I have another one. Okay, well, yeah, we have two then, but you can also try it out. So, what your task now is that you can go to either Proto.io or Marvel app and try to create your own very own prototype app using either one of these, but you need to log in first. You can use the PC if you don't bring your laptop. You can turn it on. You can turn on the AC. Okay, I'll get back to you. All right. So everyone else can Zoom. What I want you to do is that you can go to either Proto.io or Marvel app, and then create a very simple app prototype, right? I think we can a group of 3. Is that enough? Can you say it? Whether a group of 3 or whether a group of 4? Group of 5. We have 5 here. Group of 5 kebanyakan nggak Pak? Kalau di instructionnya group of 3. We have 5 on site, or we can have the 5 on site and the rest we can have a group of 4. Yeah. Okay. So let's let me randomly break you out. And then I have to do attendance as well.
The monitor.
Mouse-nya apa ya? Okay, in the meantime, you can just, if you want to use the Proto.io or Marvel app, just sign in first, please.
I mean,
Yes, I think you need to be finished on Friday, I think, and then you need to present. Yes. Okay. So I can do it here as well. Yeah. Tapi nggak kelihatan di situ ya. Okay, hold on, guys. I'm having difficulty with the computer here. I cannot move the mouse. Yeah, in the meantime, just try to log in using try to create a new sign in first, either using Proto.io or Marvel for everyone else in the Zoom. I need to break you out into groups, but I need to make the computer work. Hold on a second.
in Marvel, we can use like example for Quad and download it as a or JPG, and we can just like import it into the Marvel app. But if using the Proto.io, I see here it's like we can only draw it from video. Oh, we can share the everything together. Marvel? Proto.io. I have here.
Okay, I need to fix the computer first. So for all of you who are in the Zoom, just think about what you want to do first before I break you out into the group, yeah, guys.
Burain, if I could be of assistance to you, can I create the breakout rooms for us?
Can you do that, Mom?
Yes, absolutely.
I also sign in here. Will I also be able to do that? I think I can also do that, yeah, but I don't need to use
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, you can. As long as we have the breakout rooms buttons just underneath of our screens, we should be able to.
Yeah, okay, Mom. So let me just do it here. 8 breakout group, yeah. Atau kalau yang Pak Sam, what do you think?
Yeah,
So the on-site can be in one group or and the
yes, absolutely. Feel free if it is, you know, creating a better experience for them. Yeah, absolutely.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we have I will create 7 breakout rooms with 4 participants per room. But if your colleagues that are on site are not in your group, so that's okay, let it be, yeah, guys. So you will be only 3 of you. All right. So I'm creating it now. All right, please join. Udah, Mas?
No. Wait.
Okay, so please join your breakout group. And for those that are here, you guys can work this together. Okay? Yes, you can use any computer you want in this room. That one is actually not working.
I think I can. Archana, I have sent to your.
Yeah. Okay, in the meantime, guys, I'm going to. Okay. So in the meantime, guys, I'm going to do attendance on BINUS Maya first, yeah?
Any simple effort? Any
Which is a bit,
what
I'm
do
supposed to do the attendance when I see you guys, actually. What guys?
what do we need to do? Like what app should we build?
Anything.
Anything.
Just a simple, any simple app. Just play around with it. I'm going to jump from one group to another group and see it. So your group or the on-site group, yeah? Okay. So anything, just think of a simple design. You can use anything. You can use the Proto.io or you can use the Marvel or you can use Figma. But Figma is more into wireframing actually. So feel free to make anything, but remember a scope. Because otherwise you won't get to finish until Friday.
So how long do you?
Work it out with you guys, however you want to do it.
How long do we have? When is it due?
Friday,
Friday?
yes.
We don't have any class on Friday.
Friday presentasi apa, Sam?
Friday.
Yes, Friday would be a short presentations for all of us.
Okay, so do they need to turn this in or they just, work on the project themselves? They don't need to turn this in.
Well, they don't have to submit it in, of course, but however, they need to present it on Friday.
Yeah, you need to present it on Friday. So just
Yes,
make it.
please.
But they will present this on Friday, ya, Pak?
Yes, please, Bu. Friday would be presentation day, afternoon. So after,
Okay.
they would be supported as well by the design thinking theme, as just now being questioned by Fian as well, Ibu. So Project Hatcheries team would work on this particular project as well, to support them to provide a better solutions by Friday. Of course, it is a preliminary project, Bu.
Okay, yeah, okay. Okay, guys. So I think I need to go to the group.
No, I'll just